going crazy.
All the steps, all the stress, man, I never took a breath. If I went back, I would do less. Ugly men who make such mess, scrub the ground.
So what does Atlanta mean to you?
Ooh, Atlanta to me is just such a mecca, I would say, for culture. Even on a deeper level for me personally, growing up, a lot of like the imagery, a lot of the music, a lot of the movies, like my favorite movie is ATL, one of them anyway. And it just, number one, it's nostalgic. Number two, I just feel like it's just the birthplace for so much of like just black hip hop culture. And it's the South, like I'm from the South, so there's like a marriage there. Like there's something here that I can't necessarily get where I'm from, but at the same time it still feels familiar. But from a like today's standpoint, I don't know, I feel like you can look at Atlanta and see what a lot of the rest of the world, or the rest of the country at least, I'd say the rest of the world is imitating, like as far as how people present themselves, what people are interested in. In a lot of ways, I feel like you can find that here in Atlanta. I have a godmom that lives out here, so when I was younger, and we would like make our visits over the summertime, we would go to like the aquarium or whatever. That was usually the thing, the aquarium. But that was around that same time where like, I don't know, 06, 07, where just Atlanta was like going crazy, like as far as music. And it just always felt like, oh my God, like we're in Atlanta right now. Like, I would be like texting people back home, like, I'm in Atlanta, like making up stories. Oh my God, I just saw Diamond from Crime Mob in traffic.
What's one of the wildest things that's happened to you in a good way in Atlanta?
In a good way. Okay. Ooh, I don't know. I be meeting like celebrities randomly all the time, and that's always cool to like see somebody that you saw on television. It would probably be like the time I got to meet Gladys Knight. That was like, oh my God, like, cause she's not just like, you know, a Instagram famous or like a rapper or whatever. Like that's Gladys Knight. Like what the fuck? But that's one thing. What else? It's just, honestly, the thing I love about Atlanta too is that like it'll be a random ass day. You don't even expect to like do anything, go anywhere, and like you just end up down a rabbit hole. I ended up one day at like Young Thug's birthday party. Like had no idea when I woke up that morning that was gonna happen. I don't know. One thing I wish I had more of in Atlanta was like random like love affairs. Like I don't meet people in Atlanta like that, like at all. Like dating for me has not been successful out here. But I have hope, I have faith. But let me see if I can think of something else, a more elaborate story. I'll say maybe the time, and you're part of this one. You had texted me and was like, it was like the day before submissions had closed for the Trap Music Museum, HBCU, what's the word I'm looking for, like exhibit. So like anybody who like goes to a HBCU, has graduated from HBCU, could showcase work there. And I submitted, and it was like I said, like right at the deadline, and I ended up getting it, and I got to display my work at the Trap Music Museum, which, like I just said, ATL is one of my favorite movies, so it just felt like such a full circle moment. And what I loved about that moment too is like it wasn't something that I had to like grind for, or it wasn't hard. Like it was one of those things that felt like, oh, this is supposed to happen because it came naturally. I mean, always like, you know, divinely, but it wasn't something I had to go out and like search real hard for.
What's a crazy story in a doesn't have to be good way?
This is one of those it was kind of random because I don't smoke weed anymore, and this day was the first day I had smoked in like So we at her apartment, you know, we just decided to smoke, and I'm like, okay, you know, I'm fully in it. I'm like, all right, we about to do it. We about to smoke, then we about to go get some food. We about to, you know, just be around in the city. And I'm high as fuck. We go outside to leave. My car is not there. And I have not smoked weed in motherfucking a year. So I was just not mentally prepared to even deal with anything. And the fact that I'm like, am I high right now? Like, is my car really gone? They had towed my car within the span of like, it might have been like an hour or two, but they definitely towed my shit. Then the next day I go get my damn car. Damn road to the tow. We probably didn't pass. A tow is on this road, as a matter of fact. If we haven't passed it, we will pass it. But I think we did already. Road was blocked off. Couldn't even get to my damn car. It was just like a whole mission. Like some dumb shit. Oh, there was this one time. I don't know if I'll talk about that. Because it's not that crazy. But that scammer guy I had met that one time, that like, I had met him on like a Friday or Saturday. We having a conversation. By Sunday, I mean, we're just talking like, what do you do? What do you like to do? And and he's saying he over here in Texas doing a show or whatever. And I just was like, oh, like, have fun. I would like to go to Texas one day. And he responded like, you know what? You ain't even worth it. Like on. You thought I was about to trick on you. You thought I was about to take you to the... And I'm just literally like, sir, all I said was, you know, I would like to go to Texas one day. He's like, you didn't even ask about my show. Like, I didn't know you were fucking performing. Like, you're weird. But as an apology, like a week or two later, he ends up sending me like $800 on Cash App. And because after that, I was just like, you don't even know what's going on in my life. Like, you hit me with the most random, like, you ain't shit, da 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 da. I wouldn't even trick on you, like, bullshit. And I was like, you don't even know how my day was today. Like, I could have had the worst fucking day ever, and you gonna send me some bullshit like this. And a week or two later, he was like, I know you said, like, I don't know what you be going through, so I just thought this might help you, da 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 da. And I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do with $800 from a scammer? Like, I'm afraid to touch it. So I didn't, which I should have. I should have just deposited it. But I didn't. So I think the rightful owner ended up disputing it and getting it back.
Can't rival a clown. Never trade in my crown. Triple OG just hold me down, down, down. Yeah, you like how
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a young black woman from Oxford, North Carolina. My name is Ayonna Marcella. I am an interdisciplinary creator. I used to call myself an artist, but I had departed. I won't say completely departed from that title, but I am trying to live in the possibilities of defining myself more as a creator than an artist. I have been an artist my entire life. From before I can remember, I've been making my family literally pause what's happening on TV so I could draw it. I have been writing stories around the things that I draw since I can remember. I was inspired a lot by shows like The Proud Family, That's So Raven, Kim Possible, especially like the drawing styles of That's So Raven and not That's So Raven. The Proud Family and Kim Possible, I feel like have always influenced my work. Like, just something happened in my brain when I was young, and it's like, okay, this is how bodies look, and that's how I've always kind of drawn. I've always been inspired by TV, the stories that I saw there, not just like the shows like Proud Family, That's a Raven, but like shows like 106 in Park. Like, the music at the time inspired me. Being able to see what was happening in other places like Atlanta inspired me to eventually come here to Atlanta and try to, I don't know, maybe just get a piece of that and see where I could fit into it. So yeah, I had visited Atlanta back when I was a little bit younger. First time, I don't know, I've been visiting Atlanta my whole life, but coming as an adult, really changed things for me. Like just kind of getting the feel for like what the city actually has to offer for a young adult. I was sold around 2018. I knew that when I graduated college, this is where I wanted to be. I came out here for a couple of years. I was kind of doing that dance between, okay, am I going to do what I went to school for, or am I going to do what I really want to do, pursue a career as an artist? And I really do think that I made strides of really cool connections ended up happening, like things that were just so random but so cool, like being able to go to the BET Hip Hop Awards, being able to be a part of shows like Boomerang, which Boomerang is one of my favorite movies. So then when it became a television show, being able to be a part of that, and then Taquan Richmond, who was on one of my favorite shows growing up too, Everybody Hates Chris, him being on that and being one of the first people I actually saw on set was just really cool. But yeah, I think I did at some point. My journey just led me to a place where I felt pretty lost, and I decided to move to Houston, Texas. And that year for me, I knew it would be challenging. Well, I knew it was going to be a sabbatical. So I thought it was going to be like a peaceful, get out the way for a year, go learn some things, go get my life, and come back, and things are going to be like grand and smooth. But the year itself was just so very challenging. I think what I wanted to gain from it, I did. Well, I know I did. But I just thought it was going to be like smooth and beautiful. Like as soon as I got to Houston, like things just started going wrong. And it was scary because I was pretty much out there by myself. Like I knew people, but I didn't have like family, like or people who, like I could call a friend that I knew, but they weren't like my people. Like I knew I could depend on. So that was not a little stressful. That was a very stressful year actually, but being there led me back here to Atlanta. I've been back here for about the last 3-4 months now. And I'm very glad that I did so. The decision to come back to Atlanta, it was not my number one choice. The year I had in Houston was so rough that I was like, I gotta go back home for a second. I gotta recalibrate. I gotta get my money right. Like I just gotta like go and get some grounding and like sit down for a second. But one day, I haven't told this story before. One day I was in my kitchen and something just told me like go to your playlist. A certain playlist I went to and a certain song I went to, and I promise you, like I couldn't remember how the song went, but it was Daniel Caesar, Who Hurt You, and it goes, take me back to Georgia, back to Atlanta. I said, oh my God, am I supposed to go back to Atlanta? And it was already one of those days, like I have days sometimes where I'll just wake up and I'm like, oh, it's one of them, where I just know like I'm gonna be guided, I'm gonna be led, like it feels magical from the time I wake up. So it was one of those days and that happened, so I said, okay, I guess I'm going back to Atlanta. So that was maybe like October I made the decision, came back here in January. And here we are today.
What matters most to you?
What matters most to me? I think at the end of the day, it looks different, bless you. It looks different. Some days it looks different. Some days it looks like being involved with like supporting local Black businesses. Some days it involves being able to express myself. Some days it involves going out and like just being with the people that I love. But I think that at the end of the day, like what it all boils down to is like just feeling a sense of ease and being a part of other people's ease. Like being able to cultivate a space of like, okay, we're gonna be okay. Because you support me, we're gonna be okay. Because I get to hang out with my friends, it's gonna be okay. So I think what matters most to me is like, no matter how hard things get on a day-to-day basis, remembering that at the end of the day, like we're all gonna be all right, and just the reminding each other of that, and just doing my part to just do my best in cultivating that okayness.
What inspires you?
What inspires me? I would say, okay, let me dig down. I would say the beauty of truth inspires me the most. I think that the work that resonates most with me is that exposes just the truth, whether it's dark, whether it's beautiful, whether it's ugly. It's like those scenes in movies where you're in a speakeasy and it's like it's a room full of people that like on the surface you would call them like a criminal, you would call them like, you know, they might be robbers, they might be thieves, they might drink too much, smoke too much, but when it really boils down, it's like, but these are really cool people at the end of the day. It's like seeing the beauty and like what's beyond the surface. And that's what inspires me most. I think that's what I am really good at when it comes to my own art. And
What is your favorite creation of yours?
oh my gosh. One of them would have to be this painting that I did of, it was inspired by To Pimp a Butterfly. And yeah, there's just so much poetry and just like that album itself. But I did a piece, it was one of my very first paintings ever, like maybe first or second, and it was Tupac beside Kendrick Lamar, and kind of like their faces merging, just symbolizing like the shared story, not maybe of just Kendrick and Tupac, but just like an artist coming out of LA dealing with similar struggles, and like really when it boils down to it, a young black person in America, because we are butterflies being pimped. But that's one. I started cooking a lot more and just trying stuff. I've always cooked, but like trying stuff. And the other day I made this raspberry preserve, and it was so damn good. That might be up there too. Certain writing pieces that I don't want to like share too much about just yet because they're not complete. But it's hard to say. I guess the real answer is I don't know if I have one. I could be like fake poetic and be like, oh, my life is my favorite creation so far, but yeah, I don't know if I have one.
What do you hope to create in the future?
What I hope to create is like real impact. And I don't know what that exactly looks like. I don't know if it's gonna be lighthearted. I don't know if it's gonna be heavy. I don't know if it's gonna be community based, like on the ground. I don't know exactly where it lands, but I just hope to create real impact. I hope to like, I don't even know what the impact is. I don't know if it's just like making someone's day. I don't know if it's just like changing a family's life. I just want to be able to do something that really matters and that I can stand behind and know exactly why it matters. Because I feel like we can like twist stuff sometimes and be like, yeah, this is important because this and that. But I want to be able to like say 100% like, I'm proud of this and this changed somebody for the better.
What makes you an interdisciplinary artist?
I would say because all of my pieces kind of work together. My life's journey influences the writing that I do, and the writing that I do influences the pieces that I want to draw. Pieces that I want to draw may inspire me to create a tattoo, and that may all inspire me to make a video about it. So it's just the fact that everything works together.
And what's your favorite medium to work with?
Ooh, I can't say that I have a favorite medium. I'll say that acting right now is exciting because it feels like uncharted territory for me. It feels like that one of those things that when you're younger, you're just like, oh, not that. Like, that's too much. Like, that's too high hopes, or that's too, like, over there. So just giving myself the freedom to play in that and see what comes up is it's pretty exciting. So I'll say right now, that's my favorite.
Tell me about your family and how you were as a kid.
Okay, so my family, the earliest memories I have is just us growing up, me and my cousins at my grandma's house, out in the yard playing, you know, typical stuff. But when it comes to who my family really is, it took years to kind of learn that. It wasn't anything that was necessarily evident to me at first because, like, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house, but most of my memories around them is just like, you know, they go to work, my grandma cook, like my granddaddy goes to work, my grandma cooks. But over time, I've learned, you know, that my granddaddy was a musician. I actually decided to wear one of his shirts today. Yeah. He was a musician. He also did auto body work. He had his own garage. He played the guitar. He sang. He also worked in a factory for as much of my life as I remember him. So I'm sure like before I was born, but like all my life up until he got sick later in life, he worked in factories. My grandma, she's still here. She's an artist, but she worked a little bit more when she was younger. Some of my earliest memories were growing up in her ceramic shop. People from the community coming in to buy things that she had made with her own hands was pretty cool. She's from Italy, so just getting that cultural experience of getting to go back to where she was from and just seeing how that way of life is and how that impacts who she is and even who I am and who all my cousins and all of us are. This bag is actually from Italy. This was a graduation gift. Not graduation, it was when I got my white coat. My cousin brought this back from Italy, which is pretty cool because when you're in Italy, like there's shops all around that have like really cool bags. Like bags are definitely a thing. Like they're real leather, but they're right there on the street and they're like designed in ways that I haven't ever really seen bags put together before. So yeah. Anything else I want to say? I just think that who my grandparents were or are, and just knowing that those similar things that were in them, like just being artists, I see in my little cousins, I see in myself, and it just helps me make more sense to me.
How do these things impact you?
Okay. It's just like whenever I feel like, oh, why am I this way? You know, like why do I go out and like I could get these really high paying jobs if I wanted to, but anytime I try it, I'm like, oh, this is sucking the soul from my body. Let me figure something else out. When I remember just like who my grandparents were and are at their core, it reminds me that like, okay, I make sense to myself. Like I want to be an artist because that's just in my blood. And maybe I just have seen the world transform in a way that they didn't get to see, where it might have been, you know, easier for them to do it. And not to say that it's necessarily easy for me. It's just like I see a world where it's possible, so it makes it easier for me to feel like I can do that if I want to do that. I don't have to work a grueling like job and
Real one in the flesh. Fuck your couch, your car. Yeah, I'm bad. Yeah, I know. Can you keep up? Stay in control. Hold my hand. Hold your own. Don't hold me back. Just hold me close. Cause a queen can't ride for a clown. Never trade in my crown. Triple OG just hold me down, down, down.